We've got 9 o'clock on the dot, so we are getting started. We've got some seats open in the front row. And, I was thinking this morning, we're still maybe about 3 months into this thing, and we've had just a great continued turnout. So I want to thank everyone that's been coming repeatedly. How many of you here, this is maybe your first time? Raise your hand. How many of you have been here multiple times? Raise your hand. All right. How many of you won't raise your hand no matter what I say? All right. There might be a couple of you. But we're excited to get started this morning. We've got 2 presenters. We've got a lot of momentum with 1 Million Cups. We actually have presenters somewhat scheduled through March almost. And we're doing this every week, so it's really exciting to see the momentum that we have going on. So what we're here to do is really to help educate the community on local startups and really help accelerate those businesses. So we've got 2 startups today. I'm going to announce the first one, and it's Kristen Mizrelli with Cultural Outreach Solutions. And it's a social enterprise that provides comprehensive settlements to immigrants in Oklahoma and the businesses that they serve. So let's welcome Kristen as she comes this morning.
that work has on our community. So we are really excited this semester because we have a team of 6 interns from the Center for Creation of Economic Wealth at OU Tulsa, helping us develop our business, and we've also acquired a couple of mentors along the way, and we would love to have your name up here as well. We believe that this is going to be a community-wide effort. It needs to be in order for it to be really successful. So as we move forward, just think about how you could be participating in this project as well. So to the problem. If you don't know already, immigrants and their children are the fastest growing population in the United States. In fact, 1 in 5 American families speak a language other than English at home. Unfortunately, they show significantly worse outcomes than any other population in mental health, education, and economics. I read a statistic not too long ago in a study that 32% of immigrant children were showing symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. And this statistic wasn't actually very surprising to me because I've been working with this population for so long and I've seen the kind of trauma that they experience. But it is a wake-up call. And I don't know if you've ever moved to another city or traveled abroad. It can be very stressful. I traveled to Spain for a few months and I was an absolute mess. Just figuring out where to buy your groceries and where to wash your clothes, it was so exhausting that I had to just have a really big cry every day. And if you know, immigrants, especially around here, are typically coming from poverty-stricken, war-torn countries where their decision to come here was one of life or death to begin with. And then they typically experience severe amounts of trauma just crossing the border, and then when they get here, they're under a lot of acculturation stress. So this statistic is very real, and that 32% are living in the shadows of our communities. So despite this poor outlook, there's very little being done across the nation to meet this need, and particularly in Oklahoma. So we developed Cultural Outreach Solutions to be a one-stop shop for immigrant integration. Right now, we provide translation services, interpretation, cultural competency trainings to local businesses, clinics, and agencies. We do also immigration hardship evaluations for immigrants going through the immigration process. Right now, that's our entry into the market, and there's a very big market, as you'll see in a second. But we hope to grow into becoming, again, that one-stop shop with a community center in East Tulsa, where there's the highest population of immigrants. So there we would provide a range of services, from legal services, bilingual counseling, as well as having college and job preparation assistance. We also want this to be, again, community-wide, where other agencies, bilingual or not, can come to East Tulsa, and the hub for immigration services, and provide their services while we can translate for them, really expanding everyone's ability to reach this population that, again, is fastest growing. So our market is absolutely enormous. We are serving businesses primarily right now, and that is anyone that ever comes in contact with an immigrant. So that's from attorneys, clinics, the most obvious, to other businesses, the energy companies, restaurants, pretty much you name it. And that's for primarily translation services, as well as we do the free cultural competency training and consultation to help people have more culturally competent services. And then we're just now starting to penetrate the immigrant population, the immigrant individuals, primarily Hispanic, Spanish-speaking. There is a variety of other immigrants in our cities that we'd like to expand our services to. So before I tell you what you can do for me, I want to tell you what I can do for you. So by using our services, I will widen your market, improve your quality of services, give you a competitive advantage in the marketplace, increase your market share, and also make you feel really good because you're contributing to the community. Again, 100% of the proceeds that we receive are going back into our community to further develop community programs. And what you can do for me, you can allow me to come do a free cultural competency training or consultation at your business or agency. And also, I am very welcoming to translation referrals. If you, again, any document translation, oral translation. But most of all, I just want connection. I want to get in front of anyone and everyone that wants to talk to me about this. Like I said, we're very passionate about it and just want to talk about bringing awareness to the issue, and then again, how we as a community can solve this problem. So thank you guys so much for your time, and I'll open it up now for questions.
Are you a for-profit business or a so are you a for-profit business or a nonprofit?
Yeah, good question. We are structured as a nonprofit, but as some of you might know, the filing fees and process, like regulations and stuff, are pretty extensive. So we're on our way to becoming a 501c3, and right now, we're structured that way. So. And if you have assistance with this, I appreciate that as well. He asked if what kind of connections we have with the theater school in East Tulsa, and we don't have a lot of connections. That's something that part of our year semester we want to try to really reach out to the community, find out get connections in the community. We have one of our interpreters is the president of the Hispanic Resource Association, and she had mentioned that she knew some people in schools, but we're very looking for those connections.
Can you give us an example of like a specific interaction with a business and what you went through with them to integrate your solutions to your businesses and the advantages you spoke about?
Yes, I love that question. So one example is OSU Internal Medicine. We have a contract with them, and we provided a free cultural competency training that was specific to healthcare providers, nurses and doctors, how to use an interpreter effectively, how to be more welcoming to their immigrant population. And then we developed a contract with them so that they basically have bilingual services. So anytime they have a Spanish-speaking person coming up or non-English speaking, they call us and we make sure that we're there with them. And even we do on-call as well, within an hour. But that's an example where we provide ongoing training and then as well as the translation services. Yeah.
Can you list a couple of the services that you provide to immigrant families?
Yeah, so right now we are strictly providing the translation and immigration hardship evaluation, which by the way is like a psychiatric evaluation done by an LCSW for those going through the legal process. But yeah, so those are the two services we offer. Eventually we want to expand our services to legal immigration assistance, bilingual counseling, as well as job preparation assistance and college preparation. But yeah, we're very startup.
Is this the model that you came up with, or is it modeled after something you've seen somewhere else?
Well, it is a model that I came up with, but thankfully with our team from CCW, we found several other organizations that have done very similar models. So I'm really excited to see this has been successful in other communities as well.
How do you charge the businesses for translation services, and do you sell them other services besides translation, or how do you see that growing?
Yeah, we don't charge for the training, which we could do ongoing, or consultation fees we don't charge for those. Translation is $40 an hour, and if it's on call, like we'll be there within the hour, it's $55 an hour. And then translating documents, we do it per word basically, but it's like 15 cents a word, so which is the normal rate. And I don't know, I think you asked where we see this going long term. I don't know exactly. I think that our goal is to be working with businesses to help them reach this growing demographic and provide more culturally competent services. So we're open to what else that could look like. But for now, we know language is like a huge barrier to accessing those services. So that's where we are right now.
So I have a couple of parts. My first part is what is your entry point into the business? It sounds like maybe it's human resources primarily, and the second kind of follow up to that is that we prescribe services that help businesses understand how to deal with customers, generally call them customers, whatever, clients, patients, whatever, that are immigrants. But you also provide services on the employment side, and you get into like labor status and helping companies with that as well.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And right now, I mean, our point of entry to the market is through language. So we've been doing translation, and whether you're a customer or an employee, sometimes translating documents or contracts, that kind of thing are important. But
What's your company? Like when you call up, if you're making a cold sales call,
yeah.
who do you have to talk to?
Yeah, so human resources is our person, which makes this a little bit difficult because if you haven't been face-to-face with these clients, you often don't think it's a problem. And even us as a community, we're a very segregated community. So we have a huge population of immigrants that most of us never see. So, and it's kind of the same way, like the person in human resources is like, we don't need translation, but really the doctors and nurses know that they do. So the human resources person, that's just, a barrier that we're having right now, but human resources who we talk to, who they hire us that way. But yeah, I think that there is a market where, helping people through the legal process, companies hiring migrant workers or, that population is definitely an area we can look into and might be a good direction for us.
I know Tulsa, East Tulsa is very diverse. How many languages do you provide this service for, and what are they?
Well, right now we provide Spanish translation because we haven't really had a need for other languages, but we do have connections with someone that is a Burmese translator and a Russian translator, and we would like to really start making those additional connections so that we can expand those services. Like you said, there is a very diverse population that, with a variety of languages, and we would like to at least be contracting with them, like have independent translators that we can call on as part of our services.
So there's a
a lot of grant money out there for a lot of different things. Have you all pursued grant money from either local foundations or government agencies to support what you're doing?
No, we have not, and I would really love to do that. I have no idea the process to do that. Oh, we did get 2 small business grants. Sorry, I just forgot about this. We had from Sam's and Walmart, which they both gave us $1,200 a piece for marketing and growing the business.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that your program will be better geared towards the actual ethnic community itself rather than the businesses. There's more of an incentive for someone who can't speak English to go out and get a translator than there is for a business to want to pay money to bring that translator. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Is that
definitely.
something you've thought about? Or?
Yes. Yeah, so yeah, that's a really good question and a good point. The easiest thing for us right now was to go after, and I found I was really passionate about getting businesses to be more culturally competent, but we have run across a pretty significant barrier that businesses don't typically care about, doing that. I just not encountered a lot of people that thought that was important. But like you said, for the immigrants themselves, that they know they have to have it. And a barrier that we had, when we first initially launched our services, I put like cards out at different places, and I got a lot of calls, but I had problems meeting the clients' places. So again, if you have any ideas of where to meet them or how to acquire some, I don't know, it was too expensive for us at the time to consider office space in East Tulsa, but it's a good area to get that, and I think that's what we'll need to really penetrate that market, is to have an actual location where they can go and see you face to face.
I have 2. The first one is, do you have statistics or some visual aid to show a business why it's worth the investment to hire a translator to market to the immigrant community instead of maybe just hiring from an English-based pool of potential employees? And the second one is, do you ever come across directly the issue of immigrants' legal status? And if so, how do you navigate through the laws, whether they're undocumented or documented?
Yeah, so the first question, do we have something that we show businesses? That's something we're working on right now, and there are a lot of great statistics out there on how expanding your services shows this kind of increase in revenue. And I think especially around here where there's a pretty untouched population when it comes to our central, midtown and downtown services that could be reached. So we're working on putting together a document like that, and that's a really good point. And then secondly, dealing with the documented status. For us and for a lot of businesses, I think it really depends on if you have some restrictions, whether, with maybe potentially, I don't know what kind of guidelines are restrictive of that, but we wouldn't need to address, like, if someone is undocumented, we can still serve them, we can still do business with them. The only potential hazard there is if we were working with a business that was employing undocumented workers, and we knew that they, I know in dealing with some businesses that, they're employing migrant workers at like 60 or 70% lower wages than regular workers, and I think there could be potential. I thought if I needed to report something or I don't know, but hopefully we won't have to deal with that. We would be just helping people acquire the legal status through our legal services.
Hey, Kristen, real quick, 2 questions. Is kind of what are some of your specific goals for this year? And then are you looking at scaling it outside of Oklahoma anytime soon?
Yeah, so specific goals for this year, wow. I think that, the ultimate goal, again, is to have this one-stop shop where we have, best case scenario by the end of the year, we have a community center that, again, like I said, it's kind of for the immigrants what the Equality Center has been for the GLBT community. So that would be our primary goal, is to be really penetrating the market of the immigrant population and providing that range of services. And then as far as expansion, we are looking at expansion. This is definitely a model that's needed in other communities across the nation, and there's starting to be a growing awareness of this need. So I would like to consider, like YWCA has expanded through the nation, and kind of looking at what that would be for our model to expand outside of just the Oklahoma area. And that's something that our CCW team is looking at with us as well.
I was just wondering if you are working with any other nonprofits that are in that immigration space, like the YWCA with their immigration program to citizenship.
Yes, we have been in close contact with the YWCA, Maria Reyes, and as well as Catholic Charities. My husband's actually an immigration attorney at Catholic Charities. So we definitely want to partner with these agencies and have been having ongoing conversation as to where the open space is, what is it that they can't reach right now, and how we can work together. And again, when we have this space in East Tulsa, we can be providing their services there as well. The good thing about this is that it's not going to be, something that is a competitor with most things.
Good morning. It sounds like you pretty obviously have a huge market, because there's a massive number of non-English speaking people in any given area who simply aren't marketed to. And I think you're not going to have much trouble convincing any business that actually, doesn't have its head up its butt, that it's got a massive number of people that it's not reaching because it's not doing anything with speaking English. So my question is, why are you going for a 501c3 instead of being for-profit? Because you have the possibility of being a massively successful for-profit business.
Well, I like that you are thinking that direction, and when we run the numbers, it looks like we will be a financially sustainable social enterprise, which is fantastic, and that means that we would require very minimal to no donations once we're in full implementation. But I think our passion has always been to give to our community, and if this is really exploding in the business world and we're making tons of money, I want all of that money to go back into our community. So whether I think that we can still consider what that could look like, but based on the financials we run, it really, the services that we want to offer in the immigrant community would be funded by the profitable or, the business side of things. So basically the profits fund the nonprofit aspect. But we are open to, and we've considered, if some area of business is really launching, then we have a for-profit side of our business and then a nonprofit side, and they can again feed into each other.
I guess a question that I've got is, it sounds like a possible challenge to growth would be the number of translators that you can bring in to help. Is that accurate? Or?
A problem to growth would be the number of translators we can find. I don't think so. I know several people that are translating, and we have, actually we have a lot of bilingual people in our community. Some of them might need to be trained to be a little bit more professional or understand, specifically how to be a good interpreter, and that's stuff that we can provide. So I see a lot of potential for expansion, even if we are, training the professionals themselves. But I have, at least a handful of people ready at the moment to provide translation.
Okay, well, the reason why I asked is I was wondering from a business standpoint, and capitalizing on the opportunity, there's like mobile apps out there like Verbalize it, where you can call a translator. Is that part of the growth strategy, and the event that you run into challenges with the number of translators that you can find?
So you're saying a mobile app where you could call a translator and they would be on the phone? Or
They'd be on the phone, you put it on speaker, and you say what you need, they repeat it back. Obviously, they don't have the business acumen, and they don't have to talk about the training, but it is, it's a thought that I had. If finding translators is a challenge, then is that an avenue that you guys have looked at?
That's an awesome idea, and we haven't looked at that too much. There is something called a language line that a lot of hospitals use, and that would be kind of a similar model where you pick up the phone and someone on the other line is speaking that language. that kind of thing. So that could be a potential aspect of that program. It's a really good idea.
All right. Kristen, if you could recap real quick what the community can do for you. I noticed that you've got some brochures and your card in the back, right? So
Yes, I do. So again, just primarily if I can meet with you or anyone you know that could be helpful in working together on this venture. But it also translation business and doing a cultural competency training in your business would be great. Thank you guys so much.
all right, let's give Kristen a hand.
Call to the stand Mr. Cal Morris from SCORE. If you will just grab the mic, he's going to give you a little announcement on. I'm going to hand it to you.
Hi folks, I've met many of you. It's my third or fourth time here, and I really enjoy it. I come from an organization called SCORE, which is a few blocks over here with our local offices in the Sun Building. And SCORE is an organization that helps small businesses, both startups and existing businesses. We do about 50% of each of them. I wanted to let you a little bit know, I'll do my elevator pitch really quick here, see how good I can get it out in a couple of minutes. SCORE is a national organization. There are 13,000 volunteers across the country, 360 chapters. Been in business since 1964. So the advantage of that time period is we have a wealth of support materials for small businesses and getting them started. In our chapter, we have 30 local people that volunteer their time. The good news is the cost is free. We have nominal fees for some seminars that we do, but one-on-one mentoring and the helping is all through a really structured, organized business planning process, great materials that we have to support that. And these mentors come from all sorts of areas. Here, my first week, I saw Metafly, a great venture start that I'm really hopeful for. He came in to meet with us. He got to meet with my vice chairman, I'm the chapter chairman, Joseph Gagliardi. He is the CEO, retired, from Cancer Treatment Centers. Not only here, but all the cancer treatment centers across the U.S. That was a good contact for that business getting started. Kristen, for your business today, Dr. Yana Hempstead is a part of our group. She's a Russian translator, worked in the oil industry, taking businesses back and forth to Russia, so another great contact for you to pick up and talk to us about. We have both working and retired people. It was retired, we talked about for a long time, but now about 40% of our guys are working people, working attorney. We have 2 working CPAs. We have a business entrepreneur that owns a consulting business that is a specialist in franchises. Isabel Estes, a great person to work with. So I'm also asking you, if you're interested in working with us, we're looking right now for IT people. We really have a good IT person to help us. So,
And Cal, how do they get in touch with you if they want to utilize your services?
see me business cards right here. I'll put business cards on the back of the table. SCORE is very easy to find. It's SCORE, Tulsa.score.org. Also on the website.
ScoreTulsa.org.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, next up, I'm excited about this. We've got part of the team from Get Wit Creative this morning. Jake Johnson's going to be presenting one of their new projects called Why. It's a social call, and I'm not going to steal any more from there because I think you've pivoted since I last spoke with you. Give it over to Jacob.
All right, first time ever presenting this concept, so please be candid with your feedback here. What I'd like to propose today is that Facebook and Twitter are the fast food for relationships, right? They're the McDonald's and KFC of your relationships. They're cheap, they're convenient, but they're not very nutritious, right? We consume them constantly and then we end up feeling worse than we did before. So this leads to what MIT professor Sherry Turkle calls alone together. We have more connections than we ever have before, yet we feel less connected to those around us. So we're expecting more from our technology and less from each other. So why does this make us unhappy and why do we continue to consume? We've got in a mode of managing our relationships rather than participating. relationships are meant to be messy, they're meant to be dirty, right? They're meant to just jump in and go and see what happens. But now more than ever, we can separate ourselves from those around us. So you say, okay, well that's easy. Why don't you just call people more? Why don't you go visit your family more? And I want you to think about that question. Well, why don't you do that? Calling has become hard. A lot of us forgot how to just call somebody. I mean, I know a lot of people in this room, and very few of you would I feel comfortable just calling and saying, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Kenneth immediately wants to get down to business, right? What do you want? What are you trying to get out of this conversation? It's really hard just to call someone and say, I just want to touch base. So what we know is that real interactions are healthy. There's all sorts of research showing that if you have more real interactions, you end up getting energy from this and moving on. The amount of people that we say we can trust is now down to 2. It's at an all-time low. The amount of people that we say we can really confide in and talk to is now down to 2. So all of these things are leading to, again, more connections but less real interaction. So that's the problem we are setting out to solve. I'll let you be the judge of whether we've solved that or not. So when you download this app, and I hope you do, you're going to find that there's nothing to do in this app. All you can do is invite your friends, right? So you can invite people on Facebook, you can invite people from your contact list. And then there's nothing else to do except for look at this beautiful screen that shows you how many people you've invited. That's because tomorrow your phone's going to ring. Just like the old days, you will have no idea who's on the other line. You will know it's somebody from these connections. If you decide to answer this call, you will be put into a video chat with one of these people. All we can guarantee you is that it's going to be short. After 3 minutes and 15 seconds, we are going to cut it off. And at the end of that, you can decide whether you enjoyed it. So, my goal is to be under 2 minutes. I don't think I quite got there. So, open for questions. Please be as candid with your initial feelings of the concepts, what you think of it, whether it's worthwhile or not.
So I'll just recap, everybody go download this app real quick.
So the recap of the process is, you download the app, you sync it, you can block people, right? You can say there's no way I would ever want a random call with that guy, right? There's plenty of those on Facebook. Your phone's gonna ring tomorrow if you decide to answer it. If you don't answer it, it doesn't matter because no one knows. No one made a call. Server made the call. You didn't decline a call from somebody. No one will ever know. If you do answer it, good luck.
Okay, I think that last part answered my question. I was going to say, what was the initial purpose of the call, but you don't make the call, the server makes it for you, and you don't know you're calling somebody or who you're calling.
Right, makes complete sense, right?
Okay. Yeah,
The goal is to
I like it.
our goal is that technology should get out of your way, right? You should let the technology do the work for you and then participate in the interactions.
So how often do you answer the call and then nobody makes money there?
Oh man, you're gonna make me share that statistic, aren't you? So we'll start with it. It's only been out for a week. The version 1.1 drops today. So that being said, we have a 31% call failure rate right now. Way too high. We're working on that. Was that the question?
It seems like, if I'm busy, don't answer, right?
Right.
I would be inclined to answer because these are, like, downloading the app, and it's easier. You're counting on 2 people.
No, so basically what we're doing, so I see the question now. So what we're doing is we're queuing up several people. So we know you're connected to me, you're connected to him, you're connected to her. Our server's queuing them all up at once. And we have an algorithm. We don't have a big enough sample yet, right? We only have a couple hundred downloads. But the goal is the algorithm gets smarter and says you never answer at 3, he always answers at 9 a.m. So let's put you in these circles, blacklist this person because you two talked yesterday. So algorithm part of it will be awesome, but unfortunately you need users for that. So
Can you walk us through the decision of why you decided to do video chat rather than a voice call?
we wanted it to feel like bumping into somebody in the street. So so the interaction I talked about where you call somebody, the person who receives the call thinks that you called them for a reason. You don't have that when you bump into somebody on the street, right? So I'm going to take the long way around this question. The other thing we found in our research is that most people have anxiety from getting off the phone, not getting on the phone. It's like over 70% of calls end up in some sort of lie. You say, hey, well, gotta run, I've got something, and it's usually a little small, or whatever. I'm gonna charge you for while you get off the phone. So ultimately, what we want to do is emulate that feeling of you bumped into somebody on the street. You didn't call them, they didn't call you. You both admit that there's some sort of social awkwardness, which makes it not awkward because neither of you planned on this. So the face-to-face ultimately was where we ended up saying, let's make it as real as an interaction as we possibly can.
So let's pretend you had a billion users. How often does a user get a call attempted, and how do you control what times they get those, understanding those billion people that is spread out?
The answer is exactly how you want me to. So those of you who don't know this guy, he's not a huge fan of intuition and how you feel. It's developed by the numbers, it's planned by the numbers. So we have quite a bit of analytics installed where once we get a big enough user base, we're going to be trying everything we can. So our goal is we're going to test our way to the final product. Start calling some people more, find out whether they end up deleting the app because we called them too much, start calling people less, start grouping people. So goal one is to get the app stable enough and get enough users to be able to run those tests. I hope that answers okay.
It sounds to me like a simple solution would be a available, not available option. I'm much more likely to enjoy the service at 3 a.m. when I've had one too many than when I'm in a meeting with someone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So MVP is where we're at right now. You have the function on your phone to make yourself not available. Is kind of where we ended up with it. We wanted as few things for you to think about as possible. But yeah, that being said, that's definitely something I can see us go.
All right, so if I understand, the point of the app is to change how people interact with their circle of connections so that we would be more inclined to contact people outside of just Twitter or Facebook. So theoretically, if the app worked, once you really put yourself out of business, could people be calling each other directly or communicating with each other directly as opposed to random phone calls?
I don't think there's anything else that quite offers the interaction of, again, I wouldn't say our goal is to change your behavior to get you to do this more. Our goal is that you don't have to change your behavior and we do that for you. So it's a pretty unique experience. So my first call, I was in the middle of this thing for 9 months, right? You get to the point where you launch a product and you don't know whether it's genius or complete dog shit. And so when I did have my first call, it was with my little nephew, and that's when I was sold. It's because I would have never just called my 9-year-old nephew just to say, hey, what's up? Mainly because I didn't want to get off the phone. So I don't know if that works or not, but.
Yeah, hi. So I love the concept. I was just wondering if you could tie into like Google Calendar or some calendar you already have set up. Because I think they're talking about even the bump into the street. You know, you're not going to be in the middle of a meeting when you bump into somebody on the street, but you're going to be kind of in your relative free time or like your transit time. And so if you could somehow match that at all, I mean, it's a great idea.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the input. It's at the stage of startup where, yeah, tons of ideas, trying to figure out what to do next. Everything from running an algorithm to say that you just posted that you love Peyton Manning and Ishmael just posted that he hates Tom Brady. So let's try to get you guys in a call and then show you 3 seconds before the call what you both posted. So there's a bunch of different ideas around that. But yeah, no, that's a good one.
Going a little bit further, kind of picking back on that, is would there be parameters that you could set for whenever it's like a do not call time? So that way, like 4 in the morning when someone may be up all night, I don't get a call while I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah, so you can do that in your iPhone settings right now. We're only available for iOS right now. So you have a do not disturb function, but we have nothing else in the app. I promise we won't call you at 3 a.m.
I think so from a branding perspective, I like the name, but is that an acronym for something? So if you go ahead and select that right now, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to ask you, you just figured out a way to spell Y, so people are going to ask you questions. I think it's brilliant. But number 2, is it free, and are you looking at trying to go the same route maybe like as Instagram, where it gets bought by one of the fast food companies at some point?
So why? Any of you who've been in here who've tried to name a product or a company know how painful it is? And that it's just typically a battle of attrition, and you lose some, you win some. Why is the Thai gesture, it's kind of a global gesture for a hello and goodbye. It's a casual greeting. We think that this has huge opportunity in the Asian markets. The way their obligations to answer calls, especially from family, are much higher there. It's a completely different market. So that's one of the reasons we went there. The second question was money. As, again, my buddy Matt Galloway would tell you, step one for making money in social media is get 1 million users. So that's step one. Where the road leads us from there, I don't know. All sorts of opportunities. One of the few apps out there that has a captive audience right when they swipe it. If you opened Facebook and they required you to watch a 15-second ad before you get in it, you would shut it. With this, you might have to wait 15 seconds anyways, so we think that there's a really unique opportunity there, but yeah, that's future Jacob's problem.
You might have already said this, but when you get a call, is it a phone call or is it like a FaceTime?
FaceTime.
Okay.
It's within our app. It doesn't launch FaceTime.
And then a lot of people have talked about the do not disturb or busy function. Is it a function where when you are unavailable, you manually turn it on, or is it something where you can schedule every day from like 8 to 5? Put it on a schedule. I'm going to be unavailable for those hours, or just manually every time you want to be unavailable, you turn it on.
Yeah, so you literally can't do anything. You can not answer it, or you can answer it. So if you turn on Do Not Disturb in your iOS settings, it won't ring. But otherwise, it's going to ring. You're going to see a push notification. Silence it, put it back in your pocket, and swipe it.
I have a couple things. One is, I think the ringer is very annoying. It drives me crazy. So I'm wondering if you can, tie in so I can change that a little bit. I don't mind just letting it sit there and ring. I get a lot of random calls, so that's fine for me. Just the ringer is sometimes like, this thing. The other thing is, can you talk a little bit about your marketing strategy, how you're going to go about getting more users? I like the idea. I don't necessarily like the idea when there are just 3 people on my friends list right now, and I know, well, it's going to be one of those 3. I really want to talk to Jacob or Scott again today. But I do like the idea if I have, my whole contact list on there, and talk to some old college buddies and stuff.
Yeah, so the first thing I did when I downloaded the app was block everyone who was on the team, because I talk to them every day anyways. That's good feedback on the ringer. We had big plans for having the coolest ring ever, and we don't. Well, hopefully we'll get there. Having more people this is the tough part of our app, right? If you download it, and there's only 2 people on there, you're probably not going to answer the call. But how can I convince you to invite 20 more people if you've yet to have a killer experience? So that's the tough part of this app. How are we going to get past that? So right now we're really focused on the invite portion of it. We don't feel like we did a good enough job in the beginning explaining to you when you download the app why you need to invite people right now. So we've now switched to server-side screens where we're doing HTML displays that are going to allow us to run A/B/C/D testing on that, find out conversion rate for invites, running A/B testing on verbiage for invites that push to Facebook and Twitter, as well as the email integrations, track conversion rates on that. So that's really where we're at. You learn that as cool of a concept as you think it is, nothing just goes crazy. You got to really fine-tune how you convert people. So, but I will say, if you download it, I would love for you to invite 5 people and get 5 people on there, because you'll find that you're going to have a good experience at some point or another. But
any thoughts towards allowing us to set preferences? Maybe we don't want grandma to randomly call us, or
you can block whoever you want. She won't know.
Yeah, that's a similar line. What I was going to ask was, what list do you look at to incorporate into? You mentioned Facebook and maybe your Outlook contacts, things like that. Because I like the idea, but I've got a bunch of Outlook contacts. Facebook, maybe I have 300 friends. I definitely wouldn't want to talk to I mean, there are people that I barely knew in high school, or, you know, business associates, things like that. Is there an easy way to sort through those quickly? Because if not, I'm probably not going to use it.
Yeah, so when you get in there, you can see who's downloaded the app and see, oh, definitely don't want to talk to Jerry, block that guy. We're also going to give you a push notification that lets you know when somebody else from your contacts sign up. So you have to give us permission to access Facebook contacts as well as your phone contacts, so you can do either or. At this point, it's not a huge issue because there's not a ton of people on there, but it's pretty simple to go through and see who's on and block. You can even pre-block people. So you can say, man, I don't want to talk to that guy so bad, even though he's not on here. If he ever gets on here, block him. So, and you can feel the anxiety around like the random call, right? That interaction spurs something very visceral to people. We get a lot of this feedback.
There were two ideas that popped in my head as you were talking about this. One is that teenagers are flocking away from McDonald's and KFC because their parents are there. And if their parents aren't here, or if they know they can block them, I'm not trying to advocate like trying to keep kids away from their phones. I have a teenager, but at the same time, I think you've got a bandwagon that's already rolling that you're going to be able to hotbox. That's pretty cool. As soon as the kids find out about this, they're going to be downloading it in droves. The other thing I was thinking about was my phone knows everything about me, knows where I am, knows when I'm there. So would I be able at some point maybe to tell it when I go to my place of business, this is where I work. So then my phone knows and Y knows, okay, he's at work right now, so don't call him. As opposed to me just telling it between these hours or whatever, and so forth. But like it can tell if I'm walking down the street, well now he's in transit, he can take a call, or whatever. Or maybe I'm sitting across the table from my first date with somebody, and they also have a phone, and it knows, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't call right now, because that could be weird, or something, you know. But your phone knows everything about you, so are you going to expand into those areas?
So our vision for this product is that we can solve all of those problems without you ever doing anything. So my vision is that this never changes, but I have a room full of 200 engineers who all they're doing is trying to refine that for you. We stay completely out of the way and we learn those things. So that's one of our visions for this, is to be able to learn that stuff from the information that you'll give us, try new things, and literally keep this thing out of sight, out of mind until it's time for that call. Secondary is either Twitter integration or distinguished caller. So now you talk about you have all these kids on here. Now we do a deal with Beyonce and we say, hey, promoting your new album, will you agree to accept 3 calls this week? So now all their followers know that when that rings, when somebody answers, it's going to be Beyonce on the other end. So there's a bunch of little stuff like that that are all ideas at this point, right?
So going to the marketing of why, obviously with the powerhouse of Get Wet behind it, you've created some collateral, some sort of video explanation, some infographics, infomercial. So what have you got? What are you using today that brings to bear all the expertise you guys have to get this to market?
So, hey, thank you for calling us a powerhouse. We have a launch video that tries to explain the concept very concisely. You can be the judge of whether we did that or not. So secondly, we have a press strategy that'll roll out next week. So it's supposed to roll out with the first launch. Our call failure rate was too high, so we pushed back a little bit. So really the marketing strategy at this point is there's a absolutely massive amount of conversation around this area, around what is Facebook doing to us, what is Twitter doing to us. We really want to tap into that. So we've got emails written, scheduled to go out, so we hope to get some press that way. But really the growth is going to have to come through conversion through invites.
So while we were sitting here, I downloaded the app and sent it to a couple of people, and somebody just wrote back, texted me back and said, I think you just sent me spam. And so I'm wondering about how you get those initial signups and what age demographic or who are you really you targeting? Who have you seen as the key group to get something spreading across the country?
So priority number one right now, we've got the feedback that our language is a little too businessy, right? It's too straightforward, it's too, it's not gonna be the same for everyone. So what we're implementing right now is when you sign up through Facebook, we're gonna pull your demographic, we're gonna drop you into one set of 5 categories. That's now going to trigger the language that it uses to send somebody. And then we'll A/B within inside of those. So here in 3 weeks, we'll have 10 versions of the message you just sent out. That is, yeah, it's very businessy. It's obvious you didn't write it. So that is really when I talk about conversion. That's the key for us is customizing that, trying it, tracking it, find out which ones end up, because we know you sent it, and then we know who you sent it to. We can't see any interactions in between because you did that through either SMS or email platform. But then we can track that person to see if they ever come back and download. So we can then attribute that to which language went out. Find those buckets that have the highest conversions, focus on those, and rinse and repeat.
So obviously the linchpin of this is hitting critical mass, so the traction and adoption. One of the biggest things with social technologies and applications is the onboarding process. So I haven't downloaded the app yet, obviously. Could you walk us through your onboarding process, and have you consider, if you're not taking a play out of, for example, Twitter's playbook? So when you sign up for Twitter, they prompt you to either start following people you know or invite people, because if you sign up for Twitter and your Twitter feed's empty, the app's useless. So would you consider, or are you doing something along the lines that in the onboarding process before you get in the app, you're prompted with a screen saying, hey, who are the 10 people that you'd love to be in contact with that you haven't talked to? And then you invite them right there before they get in the application.
Kev on point as usual. So that is the biggest weakness we found in version 1.0 was the onboarding process left you feeling like, okay, just download and signed up for an app. They said I should invite people, but other than that, we'll see what happens. And you end up with 3 people on there. So the onboarding process was the part that I was talking about. We took server side so we could try different languages to try to get you to invite people. Because that's the hard part. With Twitter, it's passive, right? So you can just say, hey, follow that person. With here, we're going to automatically connect you when you sync with those people, but ultimately, right now, it's all about getting those invites out there. So yeah, that's the most critical part of our growth right now is figuring out how to successfully convert that.
I'd like to add your feature list, because I'm sure it's not long enough, or suggested feature list.
Windows Phone app?
Exactly.
That's way down the road.
Yeah. Now, so why are you guys requiring that my contacts have the app? If I have their contact information and I said I want them on my list, why can't you call them from the Y number and I let them know that's how that happened to help spread it? So that's first. And then on the messaging side, social messaging apps, some of them are trying to monetize by going into the enterprise space. If you guys see enterprise use of this internally in large organizations or maintaining your professional network on LinkedIn, et cetera, that kind of stuff instead.
So the professional stuff, I kick that stuff down the road. That's like one of those things where I think it could provide a ton of value, but we haven't even had time to really think about how that might work. So that's the enterprise side is, yeah, I do think there would be huge value there. Now, the first thing you asked was, why do I need to sync with your contacts?
Well, why do they also have to download the app before you can have it called in?
Because that's the only way we'll know if you guys are really connected.
But if they're in my contact book.
What if you're not in theirs? They don't want to call from you because they don't even know who you are. So we require some time of, maybe not, right? But that's something that we can't betray the trust of those users of, whoa, what the hell? He wasn't even available to block. So that's pretty much why that works. You'll see in there, if we know somebody is on Y, he does not have Kenneth's contact, but you do, you'll see a little icon pop up that says broken. You click on it and we'll explain to you what happens. We'll say, hey, he's on, you're on, but you have his contact, he doesn't have yours. Click here and it'll shoot him your V card to that's the solution right now for that.
Well, I guess it's only on Apple products, is that right?
Correct.
Already feeling left out on that, so I'm sure there's enough of that down the road. That's cool. No, they were talking about the onboarding process. Since you've got some video contacts and things like that, I mean, would it be asinine? I don't really get much into these, but whenever somebody's on the onboarding process, is it crazy to just like have a video that pops up of you bumping into them like in the street, and it just basically like a simple explanation of what it is and why you're adding contacts, and then it cuts off just like it would whenever you start getting calls?
Yeah, so great idea. Again, something that would be an awesome adaptive model, right? So one of the things we're talking about right now is why don't we segment into 8 different psychographics based upon Facebook information, and why don't we film 8 different 10-second videos that are literally, if you were a 16-year-old girl who's giggling because you want to talk to the high school quarterback, why don't we show you something that fits if you were my dad loves this thing, by the way. So if you're my dad who's just, I love my family, and any chance I get, I want to talk to them. So that's one of those things that's tough, because one video doesn't cover my dad and the 16-year-old girl. So that's one of the things that we're talking about, is doing that same type of serving up versions of content, tracking that, and doing that through video. Mike, go for it. You have the
So
power.
is it, I mean, I missed this question, but is it always a video call? Or do you get to, if it rings, you get to say, you know what? My hair's in rollers and I'm in my PJs and I'd rather talk to him but not on a video call? Or is it always a video call?
Always a video call, but if you put your thumb over the camera, I won't tell anybody.
In the onboarding process, could you have the last piece of that? Could you have the last piece of that onboarding process be that it actually starts a call with someone that you guys select, so not necessarily their friend, and then, wait for it, could you sell that spot to advertisers so they could talk to your new user and also inform them about their product?
That's an interesting concept. So we've talked about this idea of the advertisers. Your first call, I would hate to feel like we took advantage of that. What was the first part of that question?
Just that you guys would have people on board that would accept these calls, at least in the beginning, so they get a feel for what they...
I wonder if Tom from MySpace is looking for a job. He was pretty good at that. Interesting. So that way I do get a taste of, oh, this is what this is going to be like.
And it could just be advertising behind the guy you're talking to about, check out this website. He's just talking to you like he's a friend, but you're selling that space to cover that cost.
Very good. Anybody have any IP assignments, Andy?
All right, Jacob, can you recap what we can do for you? And then if you would like continued feedback as people download, what's the best way? Is that just Twitter? Throw it at you on Twitter, or is there a good email address for people?
There's a feedback mechanism in the app, I think. There was supposed to be. You can download the app and invite 5 people, would be awesome. But yeah, what you can do for us is download the app, and yeah, your candid feedback. Don't be afraid to tell us, this is stupid, I hate it. I was at a bar with one of my good buddies, and he was adamant that this was the dumbest thing I've ever wasted my time and my money on. And I said, what do you think of Snapchat? Oh, that's stupid too. So the best ideas are polarizing, so.
Brilliant. Jacob, thank you very much for bringing your idea. Guys, give it up for Jacob. See you later, same time, same place next week.